Yeah, let's talk a few things about creating our reality. First of all, about free will, right? Because I'm going to refer to your book again. Some of your NDErs talked about there being no accidents and that we create reality with our thoughts. And others have interpreted that as saying that that means there's a lack of free will, especially when we hear that the soul predetermined our whole set of life circumstances. So maybe you could clarify for any of our viewers, well, how does the soul choose these life circumstances and how sometimes there are accidents? I'm thinking of one example one of your NDErs gave. And basically, in the life review, he saw that he had killed a man who couldn't complete his purpose and now was going to have to start all over. So for that man, that told me, well, for him, it was an accident. He didn't, his soul apparently did not determine that because now he couldn't complete his purpose. So maybe you can just talk about this idea of accidents and free will and how that works.
Okay, let me talk about purpose. When the soul decides to separate into an individual life form, and we'll talk human because that's what we are. So if it decides it's going to come into this life and be a human, it chooses a goal or a chore or something like that it's going to accomplish when it's here. And very often that can be a huge variety of things. The mere fact that we're here is filling a purpose for the source. But beyond that, individually, we usually have goals that we've set. And those goals are set in stone. That's like a contract that we've made with source, and we cannot get out of it no matter what. So what happens is then, after we've chosen the goal, then we choose ourselves. We choose the people we're going to be in our lives, our parents, our family, and people in and out of our lives that have significance. Not every person that went into our lives, but the ones who have significance for us. And so then we also choose the race we're going to be, and the nationality, and the world, and our economic, and our intelligence, and every single thing that you can think of, we create or choose because it's going to help us to get that goal done. So that's big, okay? So then we come here and we are already pre-programmed to aim towards our purpose, that goal. However, we're a source. And again, I go back to we are God. We are source. We are that creative energy. So you can't tell that creative energy it doesn't have free will. If it doesn't want to do, then it doesn't. So if we choose to go goof off and not do our goal for that particular lifetime, so be it. But then we have to come back into another lifetime with very similar, issues and life situations, and try it again. And it doesn't matter if we take 5 lifetimes. That's up to us. It really, so we have tons and tons of free will. Yeah, nothing is written in stone except the oneness. Everything else is very flexible, huge flexibility.
Well, in the way you described it, right? It's like you're reminding all of our viewers that it's the soul that's choosing at that level. It's choosing all of these circumstances. It's choosing purpose. And even if we may not be aware of soul consciousness, if we're earlier on in our development, let's say, so to speak, and we aren't aware of soul consciousness, what you're describing is we still can make decisions. We can still not do whatever it is. And if it takes us 5 lifetimes to do it, it takes us 5 lifetimes to do it.
Yeah, there's no time on the other side. And a few other things. Just to illustrate what we're talking about in the freedom, there was one woman who had passed, and she was going in the tunnel, and partway through the tunnel, she said, "Wait a minute, I'm making this up." Like she recognized that she was the one that was creating. And so then she started thinking about herself being in all kinds of different situations and places, and she was there instantly. And it was just as real as this existence is for us. And another fellow was being told by his guides that, and this is in the book, they were telling him about he's the creator and how he's the one who has power. And so they told him to think of anything and he thought of his mother's chocolate cake. And there it was in front of them, and he ate it. And so the fact that we create our death experience, we create our life experience, we create this whole existence. And I think I want people to really know that, because it's so vital to the world and to the peace and the way things are.
Oh, I love that. That reminds me of, I basically have been, let's say, the past 6 years, was going through a lot of caregiving, full-time living caregiving for my mom. And what was interesting is, while she might have been a churchgoer, I wouldn't say she firmly believed in the afterlife. You could sense the fear. And at the same time, there was this one incident where by this time, I'm making a long story very short, but by this time she had had a defibrillator put in. And she was in the restroom, and apparently she had died. The defibrillator is what brought her back. And there she is falling on a tile floor, skipping all of that, but coming back later. I remember when we were processing it later, there was a certain point in time when she said, and I could tell it was just in a different state of consciousness, I'll put it that way. And she said, "Yeah, I remember when the angel told me I had like 3 minutes to decide." And that is not something my mother ever would have said. She would have never talked about angels or anything. So I could tell that at the moment she was saying that, she was in a different state where she was recalling. And then I benefited by being able to be a witness and hearing her say that she even had a choice. Okay, do you want to go right now? Or do you want to go later? And whether it was 3 minutes or 5 minutes, she had clearly had this short time frame to decide.
Yeah. There's another one in my book that talks about a lady who, she had some children and she knew she was very ill. And so she asked her neighbor if the neighbor would look after the children for her. I think it was 2 boys. Anyway, so the neighbor did. But then partway through, and she died while the children were gone. And so the neighbor came in and checked on her and found her, and then got help, and so she came back. But she was told when she was on the other side, that how it all depended on if the neighbor had decided not to come over and it was too late, or if she had decided not to send the kids so all of these different elements affected the end result for her. And so again, that's back to the major free will that we have.
It does speak to that. And it sounds like for her, when she was on the other side, she was determined to come back for her children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So there's some people who kind of, and maybe in your history as a counselor, you probably saw a lot of clients like this, where they have a sense of, why bother, right? Oh, everybody's done everything. Why bother? And they really don't engage with life. And I would love to hear your thoughts about that, like what you might want to say to those folks.
Well, I think that people who are in that headspace, I feel bad for them. I feel sorry for them. I wonder what life experience they have had to bring them to that point where they've given up. And maybe it was school and maybe it was their home environment. I don't know. But I feel very sorry for them because life can be wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And so, if you get in there, but again, that's back to not doing our goal. And so what happens with some people who are doing that, they're asked during their death experiences, and they have a life review, they're asked, what did you do with your life? And so then they realize, I've done nothing. I've goofed off. And so then of course, those people come back, but there's millions that didn't have that experience and that little shakeup to say, get back there and do your job. So they have to, again, come back and come back. See, that relates to me to, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun here, but that relates to karma. See, I don't think that karma is a punishment or that something that we can avoid. It's not possible to avoid karma because karma is our growth. It's steps that we go through to get to who and where we are. And so throughout each lifetime, we have lessons and we learn and we grow and we give back to the source. And that to me is karma. It's no more bad or punishment or, a down kind of thinking than it is to go from grade 3 to grade 4 or, from high school to college. It's all the same.
I love that. So there we're realizing that reincarnation isn't a punishment. Karma or the concept of karma, or like if bad things happen in life, it has nothing to do with punishment. It has more to do with the fact that we are here to be in a constant state of growth and evolution. And that's what it is. It's simply that.
Yeah, exactly. We can't not be a life form. We cannot not be a life form. Whatever, like we can choose what life form we want to be, but we are constantly being, creating and constantly being.
I'm thinking of several things that we've just finished talking about. And someone in your book said, what anyone does matters to everything. And you've referred to the collective consciousness, meaning the humanity and world and all the dimensions playing a role in creating reality. So I would love to hear what you might want to tell viewers about that, right? So whether they decide to do nothing, whether they decide to work really hard on their purpose, if what anyone does matters to everything, yeah, what would you like to tell people about that?
One of the things that near-death experience people talk about is that they feel one with everything. When they leave their body, almost universally, every single one of them will say that they felt connected to everything, that no matter what they looked at and what they saw, they were connected, which goes together with the source and the oneness, and it all fits together. And so we are our brother and our sister. We're the bug, we're the ant, we're the aliens from another planet. We are, and not only that, but we're the planet. So there's no way that there's a separation. And that's one of the things that comes about with holographic universe and the oneness is all the, we're all and you said about the light and the over and over and over again, which is part of holographic, is that we are constantly connected to everything everywhere.
Adding to that, yeah, when you just reminded me by bringing up holographic again, I think when I was looking at how scientists were really defining that word, the defining characteristic that was given to me is within each part lies the information for the whole. So doesn't it make sense that experiencers hold on to that concept? Because if we're that interconnected, right? If we all are affecting everyone at all times, it's because of the oneness and the fact that even scientifically we can see evidence that there is such a way that within each part lies the information for the whole.
Yes, exactly.
Like you said, that's magnificent. And as you were speaking, the image came to my mind, right? Most people are only going to think of their wholeness being here, like just this physical body. But in the same way that if I poke myself in the upper body, the lower body knows I just poked myself.
Yeah,
I mean, every
good.
part knows what's going on in every other part, and it's constantly reacting.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. That's great.
And not even just physical stimulation, but like you said, every single thought. I mean, that's the whole basis in the science of psychoneuroimmunology, right? Is how every thought is immediately affecting the entire system. And now with the research of heart math, we know that every feeling we have is going out, even electromagnetic, forget quantumly, but even electromagnetically, they can measure it out 15 feet. But we know that every move, every thought we have, every emotion is going out infinitely into the universe, penetrating everyone and everything else. So it's creating the collective consciousness, isn't it? It's constantly creating it all in the now.
Yes, yes. It's so exciting. And one of the things about the universe is that the universe is right here. The universe isn't just out there, which most people think of the universe is the cosmos. And it's here, it's around us. It's part of our, it's if you look at the world, you see pictures of the world in space, it's part of the universe. And that universe is right here beside us and around us. So it's...
And recently, a physicist, Anirban Bhattacharya, told me the same thing. He says within each point is an entire universe. And he might not even share a lot of the views that you and I share.
Yes.
But even he says within each point is an entire universe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that basically just echoed and supported everything you just said.
Yeah. And the gurus often talk about that exact. Yeah.
Yes, they do, don't they?
Universe in the sand, in a piece of sand. Yeah.
Yes, we keep getting validation for what the wisdom traditions have been teaching us all along, right? The gurus and saints and mystics, and absolutely. With that, a lot of people start talking about things like, oh, law of attraction. And what would you want to tell people about the role of prayer, attention, and intention in creating our reality?
Well, prayer to me fits together with God's guides, with our guides, because we are physical and we have this amnesia of our reality. We need to have something to help us connect. And so that's what I think that's prayer and also guides. They both play the same role. And so prayer is very important and very effective. I've seen it repeatedly work. in my life and in other people's lives. And so I really think that if we, prayer can be not, sitting on your hands and knees. It can be just consciousness and awareness and connecting and gratitude, big time gratitude, because a prayer can be a gratitude, because the more grateful we are, the better we are and the better life we have. You can't be depressed or angry or while you're thinking about gratitude. So, but prayer is prayer connects us to the source. There's like a direct line, but we already are there. I don't think we never left the source. So yeah, it's sort of a convoluted, isn't it? It gets a little
And no
convoluted.
wonder we have to talk about, quantum physics as different from classical, because in classical, we are all within the illusion that there is space and time and matter and material particles. Within the quantum, it's all more considered a state of superposition and what have you. So I love that you pointed out that when we're in prayer, we are pointing our attention to source. We are pointing our attention to guides, and therefore we're pointing our attention to connecting us. We're remembering. And
Yeah.
the role of gratitude, I love that you brought that up. I'm thinking of Masaru Emoto's work, Hidden Messages of Water. And he found that when he was experimenting with the effects of thoughts and the effects of words on even the molecular crystalline structure of water, he noticed that the two words together, love and gratitude, seem to have the biggest amazing effects. And he was just noticing the beautiful crystalline structures that would occur, that would be created just simply by labeling a bottle with the words love and gratitude. And when I think of those words for clients, again, this is space-time conversation, as opposed to we're all in the now, but love, a lot of times clients might think of as an outpouring, but when we're in the state of gratitude, we're in a state of receiving the love. And so how beautiful that we can receive and pour it out and receive and pour it out. And no wonder that whether it was Christ or others, they've said things like, love others as I have loved you. And, other people talk about self-love. Well, if we don't allow the love to come in, we don't have anything to give, right? So I can only love others to the degree that I allow myself to be loved, and that I can nurture and love myself.
And going back to the fact that we are one with source, that we are source, if we really think about that, if we think about the fact that we can do anything, and so if we can meditate or whatever method you use, connect in prayer, we can then understand and bring about the law of attraction. And it isn't because God is going to give it to us. It's because we recognize our reality, which is beautiful and magnificent. And we're one with source. How can source not create whatever we want?
Yes, like you said, source cannot not create. So if you had a client coming to you who basically was trying to say, well, what am I supposed to do to create my reality? How do I really affect my power? Do you have any ways that you ever talk to people about that?
Well, no, but I can think about what I would say. I know when I was doing counseling, it wasn't allowed to get into anything spiritual. That's changed beautifully. I'm so glad. But unless unless I was the only place that they allowed spirituality to be brought in was in addictions counseling, but other kinds of counseling, that was a no-no. But what I would say is that to connect with self in love and understand and be kind to yourself and love yourself, because, and I know people say love yourself, everything comes from here. It doesn't come out from there. Nothing is out there. That's all an illusion. All of this, it's in here, and it has to come from in here. And so what we need to do is connect in love and know that that is our reality, that we are magnificent. And there, so that and trust ourselves, trust our ability, because we really don't. You know, I'm really blown away, and this was when I was counseling too, but I'm blown away by the number of people who don't like themselves. They are so down on themselves, and I think how sad that is, because they are absolutely beyond beautiful. And one of the things that I read that I thought was extremely sad was that some souls, when they leave this lifetime, refuse to go to the light because they don't think they're good enough. How sad is that? The light is their reality, and they can't go to it. And so how do they get out of this bind? How do they, you know, and I wonder if that's ghosts. I wonder. I'm not saying it is. I just wonder.
Well, that would be what a lot of people would say, isn't it? They would say that when we go out of body, some people might call it shamanic journey, some people might call it astral traveling, but at that point in time, the consciousness is free of the body. And I've even seen scientific reports where, I'm going to struggle to kind of say this concisely, but they've been able to have verification. So just like a near-death experience, how you can have, you know, veridical data where someone is able to corroborate what was happening over here in a research standpoint. The same thing was happening in out of body. So I'm going to kind of just give an illustrative example. So let's say I was out of body, and out of body, I decided to go appear to that person in that part of the world. Mm-hmm. And then interesting, when that part of the world tells someone that they just saw me appear to them at that date and that time, and then it's all corroborated. And so I apparently appeared as a ghost to them. So that's one thing, this out of body. But like you said, when it comes to ghosts, some people have said that they don't want to go to the light. They have hung around this plane. They really are attached to the physical, attached to the various strong emotions, and they don't want to move beyond. So like you said, it's entirely possible that that helps explain the phenomenon of ghost, if you will.
Yeah, could be. It could be.
Yeah, fascinating. So you've brought up about magnificence. And so I'm looking at some of the things that I read in your book and what experiencers said. And so I'm going to ask you this. Can you share the vision you now hold, this magnificence of, and here's what your experiencers were saying. Each one is here with purpose. Each one is equally important and equally loved. Each one is here with gifts and vibrations to share. And when we withhold these gifts and our purpose-filled activity, it all affects the all. So I'd love to maybe have you just wrap that up and just share your vision of that kind of magnificence.
Well, it goes back to the oneness again, and that we are source, and we are this magnificent energy that can create, and that is our being, that is our reality. When I first found out about, I was a kid when 18, when I first found out about soul. I was raised by atheists, by the way, and so I saw a dead body, and I thought, there's nothing there. It's gone. And that taught me about soul. And that is us, that beautiful aspect of ourselves that is real, that is alive and experiencing. And that's a gift. And we give our gift back to God. And so I don't know that I can go beyond that.
That's
We
beautiful.
We are magnificent. We can do far, far more than we ever give ourselves credit for being able to do. And we are love. We are love. So my motto or my signature is to be the love that you are.
Right? Be the love that we are. When we're doing that, look at all of that gift and love and essence that we're putting forth. And therefore, like you said, we're having effects on everyone else with that. We also give other people permission, don't we, to be who they are.
Yes, yes.
And we do it. On a little bit different note, in your book, you mentioned that no two people ever have the same NDE experience. We're talking about just the uniqueness. I wonder if you could share more about that.
Well, yes, and that's a very important point, because we create our death experience because we are creators. We're going back to that same theme again, and I did warn you ahead that I would be constantly going back to that because that's our base. And so we create the death experience. There are universal elements within that because we are spirit. We become spirit, like soul, complete spirit. You know, the consciousness is broken away from the physical. And so there are elements that are universal that we all experience. But each individual person has a life or a death experience that is just as individual as we are here in this existence, in this life. And so, and also, just in the exact same way that we create our death experience, we also create our life experience.
Now, in your book, your readers are going to learn a lot about these universal and common elements that you've written about. And so maybe in the little bit of time we have left, is there anything that you would like to share with them about after effects, right? We've come back from that world and now we tend to have after effects.
Yeah, it's very hard sometimes for them because there is far more real than here. Repeatedly, NDErs will come back and say, there was real. This is an illusion or pretend. It's not a real existence. And so that making that adjustment, because now they're consciously aware of it, they don't have the amnesia that we have, making that adjustment to having to come back to an existence that isn't real is very hard. The other thing is that they don't care about material things. The material is like, it doesn't matter. It's nothing. And so all those goals and ambitions and dreams that they had are changed. They changed them into wanting to give and wanting to help others and to teach and to, it's outward.
So like you said, less materialistic, less focused on gathering and and feeding themselves, so to speak, and more about giving to others.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is that sometimes marriages don't survive because the spouse is still in the material, and so it doesn't work.
I think I heard some research from IANS that said 70% of NDErs actually get divorced. That is such a high number. It's so sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it just goes back to what we were saying, how our field of psychology, the medical profession, needs to support these people because there's just too many of these kinds of after effects, and they do need a lot of support. And I think I heard them say that it's between 5 and 30 years for them to integrate their experience. And mostly because, isn't that amazing? 5 to 30 years, some obviously never, but it's simply because they feel like, no, I can't talk to people. I am labeled crazy. I'm labeled, these negative things, and they can't talk to people. And so all this aftermath that affects, like you said, all the broken families that happen, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
So where do you see this field that is the near-death research field? Where do you actually see it heading next?
We desperately need more research because we've been told that it's the brain breaking down, or it's chemicals, or different excuses. But there's been no research to prove that. That's just been a concept out of someone's brain, and that's it. And so it's been accepted without having anything to back it up. So I do think that we desperately need more research on that. But the other thing we need more research on is there are people who have died and have been dead for hours and hours. And I'm talking in the state of rigor mortis when they come back, which is 12 to 14 hours or more. And so those people, and that's recorded in a hospital. So why aren't they being studied? Those people, the ones that are very, very, and the ones who die away from hospitals, because a hospital is actually the very worst place to decide whether it's a death experience or the brain or any of those other things, because a person who dies in a hospital is resuscitated within minutes. So we need some more information about people who have been dead for a very long time. And
You're making
and
great
outside of away from hospitals.
away from the hospitals. Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing up such good points. There's a physicist that I read, his name, William Bray, and essentially he had over 30 medically documented deaths. And what you just said, sometimes he would be gone for more than a day and then come back into the body. And he had more than 30. It's just that he had over 30 that was medically documented. And he was not only a physicist, but he was a neurochemical researcher. And so he kind of wrote from all of that perspective, and of course brought in the quantum physics and all of that kind of stuff. And that was amazing. Now, he is past now, so I guess at some point in time he decided to quit coming back. But like you said, yeah, where is all that research? We don't have that research, do we? And
yeah.
Oh, Lynn, it's been such a pleasure having and being able to have this discussion with you. Can you think of anything else you may want to share with our viewers before we end?
Oh, well, just repeating that to trust themselves, to get, use whatever method is worked for you, whether it's meditation or mindfulness or yoga or any other method, whatever works for you. Get in touch with yourself and the beauty that you are, and trust yourself, because you really, really can accomplish way, way more. And you are accomplishing them. You just don't know it.
That is so beautiful. And I really do encourage people to get your book and read all of these beautiful accounts that you've shared. I mean, really, truly a gift.
Thank you.
So I thank you so much, Lynn.
You're welcome. And thank you. It's been a wonderful discussion. I don't get a chance to talk about quantum stuff and science and, in very many places. So this is wonderful.
And
Thank
that's
you.
why I wanted to kind of do that. Like you said, we don't get that opportunity too much. So, oh, thank you.